You know how everyone always talks about the weather? Well, this article you sent takes it to like a whole new level.
It's one thing to chat about the weather,
Mm.
but this is about weather control, conspiracy theories,
Mm-hmm.
and in Congress, no less,
Right. Not just some casual conversation. This is happening among our elected officials,
with some pretty strong reactions, I have to say.
to put it mildly. But let's back up for a second.
Mm.
This all stems from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene suggesting that, get this, the government can control the weather, hurricanes specifically.
And this is all happening as Hurricane Milton just hit Florida.
Talk about timely, so it's no wonder this is causing such a stir.
Yeah, the science behind her claims has been, shall we say, thoroughly debunked.
Put to rest.
But it's the political fallout and what this says about, the state of things right now that's really got people talking.
Yeah, it's like the claim itself is one thing, but the way other politicians are responding, that's the most interesting part to me.
Absolutely. And it's not just coming from across the aisle either. Even those within her own party are speaking out.
Like Congressman Carlos Giménez.
Right, a fellow Republican from Florida.
Yeah.
He didn't mince words, let's just say that. He straight up said she needs her head examined.
Wow. You can't get much more direct than that.
No, you can't.
But then there's Congressman Moskowitz. He's a Democrat also from Florida.
Right.
And he had a totally different take, much more on the humorous side.
He did. He joked that if aliens, if extraterrestrials heard these claims, they'd be questioning the intelligence of Congress as a whole.
Seriously.
And then he went on about get this, a Mensa caucus. Can you imagine?
A Mensa caucus. Okay, for those of us who aren't up on our high IQ societies.
Right. Mensa is that organization for, people with really high IQs.
Super geniuses.
Basically. So Moskowitz is using that to be ironic,
Mhm.
like highlighting just how absurd this claim is.
Like a clever burn disguised as a compliment.
Exactly.
But jokes aside, Moskowitz brings up a really important question. What's the motivation behind saying stuff like this? Is there some kind of strategy here, politically speaking? Or is it just, and I'm quoting here, stupidity?
It's quite a statement to make, one politician to another. Regardless of party, it speaks to a certain level of, I don't know, disbelief maybe? And even frustration with where political discourse is these days.
Yeah, like, are these attention-grabbing tactics trying to appeal to a certain base? What's the end game?
Yeah, you have to wonder.
It's a really good question.
Some argue it's all calculated,
Rah!
right? A way to grab headlines, solidify their support, maybe even distract from other things that are going on.
This isn't exactly new territory for Representative Greene, though, right? I mean, the article mentions a history of promoting other conspiracy theories.
And this is where the pattern becomes, more significant, I think, than any one statement on its own.
Right.
Like attributing the California wildfires to, are you ready for this, the Rothschilds,
Oh, boy.
which is obviously rooted in some really harmful anti-Semitic tropes.
Yeah, no, okay.
Or claiming that an eclipse was a sign from God. These instances, when you look at them together, start to form a bigger picture, I think.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder about the motivations even more so.
It's complicated,
Definitely.
but it takes us to another layer of this story,
Yeah.
which is President Biden's response.
Which is a whole other can of worms, really.
It is. It's pretty significant that he even felt the need to address it.
You're saying even the President of the United States felt he had to respond to a congressperson talking about weather control.
It's not every day you see that.
No, not at all.
I mean, he called her claims un-American. And beyond ridiculous, it's so stupid.
Strong words from the president.
Yeah, and it just goes to show how much visibility these claims get, even if most people see them as totally baseless.
It's like it's a symptom of a larger issue almost.
Exactly, and that's what we keep coming back to.
Right.
It's almost funny, the claim itself, or at least some people find it funny. Others are just, I don't know, condemning it outright. But either way, it makes you wonder, why are these theories appealing to some people? What makes someone hear something like that and think, yeah, that makes sense, even with all the evidence to the contrary?
Yeah, it's a really good question.
It really is.
It's like bigger than just this one incident or even just this one congresswoman. This is something you see more and more.
Absolutely. It's a trend.
Conspiracy theories popping up everywhere these days.
Yeah, and I think it's a question with a lot of different answers, and they're not simple answers either.
Like what? What kind of answers?
Well, some people point to a distrust in authority.
Like a government?
Yeah, the government, scientists, experts in general.
Okay, I can see that.
And others say it's more about wanting simple explanations.
Because the world's a complicated place.
Exactly. Things feel chaotic, overwhelming, and a simple answer is comforting.
I actually hadn't thought of it that way before.
Yeah, it makes
Like,
sense.
when you put it that way, it's almost understandable. Not that I believe these theories, but I can see how someone might grasp at them, you know?
And then you add in social media, the internet in general.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other beast.
It really is, because these platforms are designed to keep you hooked, right? And what's more engaging than something crazy?
True.
So they end up promoting sensational stuff, whether it's true or not.
Because accuracy isn't really their goal.
Exactly. It's all about clicks and shares.
And then you end up in these echo chambers where the same misinformation just gets amplified.
That's exactly it.
It's like we're drowning in crazy ideas, and it's hard to tell what's real and what's not, especially when it confirms something we already believe anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a recipe for disaster, honestly.
You're telling me.
It's scary.
It is scary, and it's why it's more important than ever to think critically about what we see and hear online and even offline.
To question things.
Yes, don't just take something at face value because it sounds interesting or because it confirms your biases.
Check your sources.
Absolutely, and be open to changing your mind if you find out you're wrong.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, for sure. But it's something we all have to strive for.
It's like this whole thing, it's not just happening in some vacuum, you know? It's all connected.
Yeah.
Politics, the internet, what's happening in the real world.
Yeah, it's like a perfect storm almost.
And it makes you realize these aren't just intellectual debates we're having, are they? This stuff has real consequences.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when people distrust the government, scientists, whoever it might be, that affects how they react when there's a hurricane or a wildfire, any kind of emergency.
Right. Are they going to listen to evacuation orders, or are they going to think it's all part of some big conspiracy?
Exactly. And then what? People get hurt. It's awful. And even beyond that, it affects how people view things like climate change, you know, the really big issues that we need to be dealing with.
It's like, it's easy to make jokes about this stuff.
Which we've done a little.
But at the end of the day, it's serious business.
It is, because words have power. And when misinformation spreads like this, it has a real impact on how people see the world and how they act. It's not a game.
Which is a good place to bring it back to the article, because it leaves us with this big question, right?
That's
Like, it spends all this time talking about the reactions to what Representative Greene said, but it makes you wonder, why do people believe these theories in the first place? What makes them so appealing?
right. Is it just about distrust or wanting easy answers, or is there something else going on there?
Maybe it's a bit of everything, you know?
I think so.
Like you were saying before about the internet and echo chambers and all that. It's like all these anxieties we have as a society get amplified online.
Exactly. And then it's hard to separate what's real and what's not, what's a genuine concern, and what's just, I don't know, fear-mongering for clicks.
Yeah, and that's on us to figure out, right? As individuals.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being more critical of what we see and hear online and offline.
Like you were saying, check your sources. Be open to changing your mind.
Exactly. Don't just go with your gut or what your friends are saying or some random post you saw online.
And maybe log off every once in a while.
Can't hurt. Get some fresh air. Talk to actual human beings.
There you go. That's our advice for the day.
Skater to leave it.
Well, on that note, I think this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It really has.
Definitely given me a lot to think about, that's for sure.
Me too. It's one of those topics you can just keep unpacking forever.
Oh, for sure. But I think we've earned a break.
Agreed.
So to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this wild ride through weather conspiracies, political drama, and the power of misinformation.
And remember, just because you read it online or heard it from a friend doesn't make it true.
Words to live by. And until next time, stay curious.